Lesson 10 in Module 2 is on applying the angle relationships. So, in our last lesson, we were talking about our angle relationships, and they were vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, supplementary angles, right? Straight angles. And so now we're going to take those and we're going to use them to solve for some missing angles. So it says we can use our knowledge of the angles formed by parallel lines and transversals. Remember, these work with it. They're still alternate interior angles if they're not parallel lines, but they won't be congruent, equal, to find missing measurements. In the following examples, we'll write and solve, oh, look at here, equations. Yep, equations are coming back. So we're going to use all that work we've done before to solve for some, to figure out some angles. Elm Street is parallel to Oak Street. So Elm and Oak are parallel. Remember, sometimes we see that little arrow kind of and not at the end to know that they're parallel. And Cedar Street cuts diagonally, transversal. Find the measure of each marked angle. So let's think about what do we know, okay? We know things are parallel, okay? And we know these two streets are parallel and being cut by a transversal. So these marked angles, they have to be congruent because it's parallel lines, because it's transversal. So we're going to say, I know the marked angles are what? What are they to each other? Okay, so again, this is going to get easier the more you practice it. Always check for vertical angles first. Vertical angles, remember, are the ones right opposite each other in two intersecting lines. Okay, I usually check vertical first. Then the second one I usually check is corresponding. Do they hold that same matching corner, that same relative position? Well, this angle right here is above the parallel line to the right. This angle right here is above the parallel line to the right. Hey, that means they're corresponding. So the marked angles are corresponding. So they are congruent, equal. Congruent is the geometry word for equal. So if I wanted to know what the degrees was here, right, what do I need to know to figure that out? Okay, because I want to find the measure, the number of degrees in this angle right here. Well, if I knew what x was, I could figure it out, right? So I need to know the value of x. Okay, so now let's do it. If we know they're congruent, if we know they're equal, let's set them equal to each other. So I am going to say that 9 times x plus 61 has to equal 3 times x plus 103. Hey, we've done this before, right? If these two things are equal, then simplify each side and solve for x. So we can either choose to subtract 9x from each side or 3x. I'm going to subtract 3x because it's going to let me deal with positives. 9x's minus 3x's is 6x's. These add to 0. Now we've gathered, excuse me, all of our variable terms on one side. We're solving for x, so using order of operations backwards, we're going to get rid of whatever is being added on first. So how do I get rid of a positive 61? I combine it with a negative 61. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay, bring down my 6x. Those are opposite. Equals. Using my calculator here, 103 minus 61 is 42. At this point, you could say 6 times what number equals 42? Or you could undo your multiplication with division. Okay, so x is going to be equal to 42 divided by 6, which is 7. So we figured out what we knew, figured out what we needed to know. We did our work. Now make sure you're answering the question being asked. Find the measure of each marked angle. I want to find the measure of this one and the measure of that one. Okay? I know x is 7, so if I want to find the measure of this one, I'm going to go 9 times 7 plus 61. And I'm just going to take a calculator and go 9 times 7, or you can do it in your head if you really want to, plus 61, and then type it in correctly, right? And I get 124. So that first angle is 124 degrees. My second angle is 3 times 7 plus 61. I'm sorry, not plus 61. Like, that doesn't sound right. plus 103. Make sure you're copying it correctly. 3 times 7 plus 103. Hey, and it gets 124. We shouldn't be surprised by that, remember? In fact, I shouldn't even have to do the second one. Why? Because we said right at the beginning they're corresponding, so they have to be equal to each other. 24, 124, and 124. All right, so let's look at another example. The side view of a table is shown. So here's a table. The top of the table is parallel to the floor. Awesome. We know that these two lines are parallel. If they're parallel, we can think about angle relationships. So we need to find the measure of each marked angle. So this one right here and this one right here. Okay? So let's see if we can figure it out. So again, I start with vertical angles. Vertical angles, like if I were to continue this line here, right? They would be opposite each other. Continue this line here, right? It's not vertical angles, corresponding, okay? So again, guys, it's a lot of times, I've told you before, right? I struggle to see this stuff. If you extend your lines out, okay, sometimes it's a little more helpful, right? All right, so if I look here, okay, let me do this one too. Okay, so no vertical, corresponding. This one is to the right of the transversal, below the parallel. This one is to the right of transversal, but above. Okay, so it's above. They're not corresponding. So then we have they're alternate interior and alternate exterior. Well, to be either of those, they have to be on opposite sides of our transversal. And our transversal here, oops, I'm trying to make it a different color. Oops, maybe not. There, we're getting nothing. Okay, sorry. We'll just try it again. Okay, this transversal here, they're both to the left of it. If I said right earlier, I apologize. To the left and below, to the left and above. So, not vertical, not corresponding, not alternate interior, not alternate exterior. That leaves us with supplementary, okay? This angle right here has to be the same as this one right here, right? Those would be corresponding. These two angles, so this really here is 17x minus 9. These two angles are a straight angle. Straight angles add to 180 degrees. So if they're not any of the rest, remember those are the congruent ones, they have to be supplementary. So these two angles here have to add to give you 180. So what do I know? I know the marked angles are supplementary. Oh, wow, that was really poor writing. I'm sorry. And add to 180. Okay, so kind of, this is the reason why, but process elimination, if they're not congruent, they're supplementary. So let's set them equal to 180. So I'm going to say 7x minus 9 plus 4x equals 180. I'm going to simplify and solve. If I have 17x's and 4x's, that's 21x's. Minus 9 equals 180. Solving for x, I'm going to get rid of the minus 9 by adding 9. Whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, do to the other. I bring down my 21x, that's 0. This becomes 189 when I add them together. And then I divide both sides by 2. Sorry, I'm going to divide both sides by 21 because I'm going to actually write the number correctly. Okay, so I bring down my 21x equals 189. Divide both sides by 21. If you do 189 divided by 21, you get x equals 21. Now, oh, totally forgot what I need to know. Sorry. You know what I need to know here? The value of x. Right? Because now when I have the value of x and I want to find the measure of each marked angle, all I'm going to do is take 21 and put it in for x. So I'm going to go 17 times 21 minus 9. And I'm going to totally mess up all of this problem. Let's start again. This doesn't equal 21 right here. All right, so I wish I could go back and redo this problem, but I don't want to record the whole video. So if you're sitting there going, Mrs. Messing, you're messing this up, you're right. Let me fix it. If I were to go right here, 189 divided by 21, and type it into my calculator correctly, I would get 9, and that seems so much better, right? So scribble out that 21, it's 9. Now I'm going to plug that in. 17 times 9 minus 9 is 144 degrees. If I do this other one, 4, instead of saying times x, times 9, 4 times 9 equals 36 degrees. So thanks for sticking with me through all of that. The measure of each of these angles is 144 degrees and 136. So we're gonna keep working on those angle relationships we did in the last lesson. Remember, they're all congruent except for that one. So if you can't come up with corresponding vertical, alternate interior, alternate exterior angles, the are congruent ones, then they're going to be supplementary, which means they add to 180.